Hello, how are you doing today? This is Jose Nunez. Welcome to the Real Estate Pro Podcast Show, Episode 1. Want to introduce myself. I'll be the host of the show today. My name is Jose Nunez. I run a real estate team with my wife, Crystal Nunez. She is not here today, but she will be here on further episodes. And I just wanted to invite you guys to go ahead and send us some questions you may have on the buying process of real estate, mortgage questions, credit repair, whatever it is in regards to buying a home, buying real estate, getting a mortgage. Go ahead and shoot us a question. I am here to answer your questions. That's the purpose of the show, so we could help you throughout the buying process. Now, being the first episode, I do want to go ahead and give a little introduction on myself so you know who you're talking to. My name is Jose. I'm married with 7 kids. My wife and I are a blended family. People always say, wow, 7 kids, that's a lot of kids. Yes, it is, but we are a blended family. We got his, hers, and ours. And that's how we kind of made it happen. Our kids are range from 13 all the way to 1 year old. They keep us busy, and yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're actually here in the studio as well today. Maybe you'll meet them. My wife, she's a real estate agent, and she is also a registered nurse. We do we do spend a lot of time. We love family time. We love helping people. We love helping people accomplish their goals and buying homes and things like that. And ultimately, we do enjoy spending time with our kids, things of that nature. So that's a little background on us, who we are, and what we do. I've been in real estate since 2002. I got my license back then. I began doing mortgages back in 2002. Very different market at that point in time. I was doing mortgages from 2002 in an office out of Downey, California. From there, I opened up an office in West Covina in 2005. I did partner up with a real estate agent at the time, so we could offer both services, and we were doing very well. We were selling a lot of homes, doing a lot of loans, and then the market crashed. I'm sure all of you have heard about the market crashing in the real estate market. It crashed in 2007, but everybody else felt it in 2008 and on, which was a very interesting time because from one day to the next, you had a bank who was giving you a home loan. You were ready to close on your house, and then the next day, that bank was out of business. So when you thought you were going to be a homeowner, it didn't happen. And again, it was a very challenging time because you as a consumer didn't know what was going on. Us as the professionals, we had no control over what was going on. Yet, we were having to deal with that. But fast forward a little bit, in 2009, I ended up, I got my real estate broker license and I began learning the process of selling real estate. I got a REO account, which is, REO stands for real estate owned, which means a bank owned property. And I got a couple accounts with a few banks, and I started selling houses for the banks, which is a very, very interesting process as well, because you were getting homes that were torn apart. They were missing sinks, toilets, kitchens, whatever you can imagine. I mean, it was like the worst of the worst. But we sold quite a bit of homes for the banks back in through 2009 through 2012. Lending got a little tight at that point in time as well. When the market crashed, the politicians came in and said they had to blame somebody, so they blamed the mortgage professionals. They got a little regulation. They regulated on the mortgage industry to protect the consumer, so they said. But all they really did was increase the cost for the consumer and make it harder for the professional to do business. But from now since then, the real estate market has gotten a little. It's been going up since then. Mortgages are not as hard as they were back in 2008 through like 2013 or so, and yeah, that's what's going on. Again, I do want to remind you guys that if you guys have any questions in regards to the real estate, buying a house, getting a loan, even credit repair, go ahead and send a message.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what's the first steps people should take if they want to buy a house? Like, what's the most important thing they need to do if they want to buy a house?
So, what you need to do to buy a house is you need to take action first. You need to go ahead and find a real estate or a mortgage professional to help you with that process. And ideally, what you want to do is you want to get pre qualified first. And I say ideally because what normally happens is when somebody wants to buy a house, they go and they start looking for houses, and then they want to go look at a house without being pre-qualified, not knowing if they can afford the house, if they qualify for the house, or if it's a payment that they're comfortable with. So the first thing you ideally want to do is meet with a mortgage professional. Now, when you meet with that mortgage professional, you're going to need some documentation. You're going to need to take your ID. You're going to need to take your social security card. You're going to need to take a month of most recent bank statements. You're going to need to take your last 2 years of taxes. So, for example, now it would be 2018 and 2017 taxes and your W-2s. You're going to need to get 2 months of your most recent bank statements. Now, you need to bring all the pages of the bank statements because normally the last page of your statement says intentionally left blank. But because that is going to be page, 3 of 3 or 4 of 4 or whatever the case is, it's going to be needed for the bank. And I clarify that because normally when I ask for that, somebody didn't bring it and they say, oh, well, that was just a blank page. But it's very important to bring that page. And that's what you will need. Once you bring that to a mortgage professional, they'll be able to run your credit. They'll be able to pre-qualify you, and they'll be able to tell you at that point what you qualify for, what your payment is going to be roughly. And at that point, you can start looking for a house within that price range.
Okay, now is there anything I need to do besides, pre-qualification? Like, what if I don't have a traditional way of banking, or I don't do taxes because I'm a barber or something?
Well, if you're a barber, you should still be doing taxes. But if you're, let's say, getting paid cash or whatever the case is, there are some programs out there for self-employed individuals where we could qualify you in that sense. Now, the one thing you do have to be aware of is if you're not fitting in the traditional conventional FHA type of loan and you need to go, with something where you don't file tax returns or things like that, it will be a special program where the interest rate is normally a little bit higher, but you can still qualify to buy at that point in time.
Okay, I got one more question for you.
Go ahead.
So I now know today because KNX told me that they're lowering the interest rate around the country. What does that mean for me as a buyer?
You know what? That's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it. Because what happens is when they announce that the Fed lowered the rate, to the consumer, it sounds like the rates went down today. And that's not what happens. What happens is the Federal Reserve is lowering the rate at what they sell it to the bank for, at the interest that they're charging the bank. Therefore, the bank the rate is getting lowered for them, and then they go ahead and they adjust the rates accordingly. But it doesn't happen instantly from the minute the Fed says the rate was lowered.
So does that mean could soon pay lower interest on a loan or if a refi soon? Or is that going to take some time?
Possibly, it normally does follow. But again, the most important thing to know is that when the Fed lowers the rate, it doesn't lower the rate for the consumer at that point in time. It's they're lowering the rate at what they lend the money to the banks for.
Okay, last question. Is there any time a better time to buy a house? Like you should buy it in the summer, buy it in the winter? Like, in cars, they say you buy it in the month, but what about houses?
So, well, they're houses normally people want to buy and sell in the summertime so they could be settled into the house by the time their kids start school. So normally the summertime is a little busier than all the other times. But what I normally tell people is the best time to buy is when you're ready to buy, because you could you don't want to wait for a particular perfect time to buy because you never know what's going to happen. Now, obviously, everybody wants to buy at the lowest price possible, and people always ask me, well, when are the prices going to drop? You know what? I don't know when they're going to drop. If I knew when the prices were going to drop, guess what? I would be rich. I wouldn't be here doing this podcast. But we don't know that. And what I tell people is, you know what? When the best time to buy is when you're ready to buy, because once you're ready to buy, you get into your house, you make your payment, regardless if the market goes up, down. As long as you're making your payment, history always shows that real estate always ends up. And as long as you're making your mortgage payment, your mortgage is going down, property is going up, you're going to end up in a good situation at the end of the day, regardless.
Oh, that's awesome. Got any more quick tips for people before you leave?
I think what I could recommend is if you're ready if you have questions or if you want to go ahead and take a look at the process, make sure you gather your paperwork, talk to a couple people that you feel comfortable with, and go and get pre-qualified. That's always the first step. And people normally get nervous to running their credit. That's another hesitation I get. What if I run my credit will lower my score? that used to happen a lot more where you would pull your credit and it would lower your score quite a bit. But if it does happen now, it doesn't happen as much. So what I say is just do it. That way you know where you're at. Worst case scenario, if you're not in a position to buy, we can tell you how to get there by doing certain things with your credit, paying certain cards off, getting accounts, whatever the case is, and getting you in a position to buy.
That's awesome. So how can people find you after this? Like, what's your Instagram, your Facebook, all that stuff?
So you could find me. I am on Facebook. On Facebook, my name is Jose Nunez, obviously, and I do have a business page. It's a JK Home Selling Team, uh, or no, it's Jose and Crystal Home Selling Team, where you can find us on Facebook. We are on Instagram as well as Jose and Crystal Home Selling Team. So you can find us there. You could ask us any questions in regards to the buying process. And another thing as well, my wife used to own a credit repair company back in 2007 or so before we were married. That's actually how we met. She was repairing my credit. But so if you have credit questions as well, we could guide you on how to fix your credit as well.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you so much. So
Lastly, if you do want to reach out to me as well, you could go ahead and call me at 626 area code 255 4400. Again, 626 255 4400.